I mean, I've taught it in classes. It's really easy. And I recommend that, before you do the psychometry, you pray and you ask to protect it so that you don't touch something and all of a sudden you got something going on that you don't want. But I recommend people go to antique stores just to kind of try this out, and I do this all the time. Go to antique stores and touch different things and see if they have any vibes. If you're drawn to this little lady's, maybe some little jewelry or something, and you just drawn to it and pick it up and see if you get anything off of it. And as you focus on it, you might see a face, you might hear a name, you might just have these things, impressions come to you that you will try to debunk because you're like, oh, this is just me making up stuff. Well, that's how intuition works. It appears, it feels like it's just made up, but it really truly isn't. It's coming to you in the clair. It's a clairvoyance, a clairsentience, a clairgustus. It comes to you in those super senses.
And so let me ask you this. When you do get psychic visions, do they come like visions, or they stream across, or are they flashes, or how does that work with you?
I get them all ways. I get them as movies sometimes, but the more common is like a flash. It's like a photo, or, it's like a photo sent to you and pulled back, like really quick. But what I've learned to do in time is to kind of get out the magnifying glass and the telescope sometimes. And so what you can do is you can kind of focus or tune into the actual item. You can say, bring that back. Like I like to say, bring that back. That's what's fancy. Bring that back. But you could say, like, make that come back. I didn't see it. And they'll sometimes bring it back to you so that you can see it again. Or I always tell them, show it to me in a different way. And so sometimes they'll do it in a different way as well.
And that would be spirit showing you this, or your spirit guides, or maybe all the above?
It can be all of the above. If you're dealing with the dead person per se, and they show you something and you don't get it, so you tell them to bring it back to you. So it's either your angelic entourage or that specific person that you're dealing with. Sometimes it could be all of the above.
Yeah. Okay. And how is your ability to sort out what's what and who's saying what? Is that you? I'm sure over time you've tuned into that, but when you first started out, you must have had a little bit of figuring out to do, maybe.
I think everybody, no matter how long they've been doing this, is going to have a little bit of problem with it because it keeps you humble. Because if you're always 100% like, oh, I know, that's so ego. So there's going to be times, like even today I was talking to a lady, and I love like really boss women because I would consider myself a boss chick. So I always say when I come back, I'm going to be like totally a guy. You're going to totally think I'm a guy. And so I was talking to this lady's sister, and I was like, oh, my God, this is a guy. This is a guy. But she was telling me all this stuff that was valid for her being the sister. And I'm like, well, she feels like a dude. I said, was she really bossy? Like, and she's like, yeah. I said, okay, I get it now. She's a girl, but she's like a guy. Her energy's like real, like dominant and stuff. So again, I was incorrect of the sex, but got the information right about the person. And so I think that they keep us humble that way.
Yeah, they keep you on your toes, so to speak. keep you practicing. Let me ask you this. What advice do you got to give for somebody that's young that just realized, hey, every day I'm seeing spirits, they're walking in my room, they're tickling my toes, that's just realizing that they've got something going on. Do you got any advice for them, or where they can go, how to learn, how to cope, how to develop, anything like that?
Well, first off, I tell them they're not crazy. Unless those spirits are telling them to do anything to hurt themselves or others, I would tell them they're not crazy. And they need to know that because initially when you start having, intuition like that, the first thing you think is, what is wrong with me? And so the next thing I would say is to clear the space. As I said before, start with a clean slate. So when you know that you're having these things, say if they're good things, keep the space cleansed and stuff so you're only talking to good people. Command your space. So if someone's bothering you, you don't like it, whether you're a kid or adult or whatever, you need to tell them, look, this is my space here right here. I don't want you bothering me, and you need to command yourself, command your space. And there are different clearing techniques as well. But I would say the number one thing is to trust your gut. If you feel something or see something, it is real to you, okay? And so know that, and not to be shunned from it, because sometimes those messages are life-changing things of healing. Sometimes they're things of warnings to protect you of something that you don't even know about. So I always tell people, listen to the message, and if you don't want to listen to the messenger, you have the I'm going to say, the God-given right to, hang up on them, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me ask you this. Your house where you live, is it your sanctuary? In other words, you don't have just spirits off the street walking up into your bedroom and saying, hey, Ericka, wake up. Or do you have it where, you get a peaceful night of sleep?
Well, now they're in the attic, and I'll tell you, they make noises, and they do that all the time, but I don't necessarily focus on them, and I don't even want to know who they are, because the attic to me is a bad place. And so I don't even focus on them. They make noises up there, and I know they exist. I mean, sometimes that's the wrong times, but I just look at them as protective, but I don't interact with them.
So what, you put a spirit... So you got a spirit magnet in your attic, so they all go up there and you keep them up there so they don't bother you while you sleep. Is that how that works? I just don't know.
I used to think that it was like the traveling place, like when you think of a portal, how they kind of go through I was thinking they were going through the roof, coming to my bedroom, bothering me, but I don't know. It just, I could be someplace in my house and all of a sudden the ceiling will make a noise, like right where I am, and I'm like, I'll look up and I just won't say nothing. We're playing this game like it doesn't exist.
So what, you just kind of look at them out of the side of your eye and be like, get back up in the attic?
Yeah, and then my husband calls them my people. Like, he's like, your people, make a noise.
Your people?
And I'm like, they're my people. I said, okay.
Oh, my goodness. So your peeps get routed, they all just jump at one time in the attic and wake you up. That's just crazy, I tell you. Oh, that's something. So anyway, wow. I don't even know what to say about that. Having spirits following you must have spirits following you around, man. Obviously, you must be a beacon in the night to them.
Yeah, I see that, and I think that they don't bother me all the time. But I think we're bombarded, we're around spirits every day. It's just how it is, and sometimes only they're acknowledged when they need to be, but sometimes they're not. But I think everybody walks around spirits. They're just us without skin. I mean, basically.
Yeah. Right. Let me ask you this. Now, my question is, spirits, how they're everywhere, and I get that too, and they go into people's houses. How do spirits usually go into somebody's house? Tell us that.
I don't see them as having walls. I mean, we live in this place where these are walls. They don't have walls. They don't have the same limitations as we do. They can go from here to your house right now in 2 seconds. So I think that they are either drawn to us because we're light bulbs in the dark. They're technically not the dark because they're not like in a dark place, but they're like a beacon of light. They're drawn to us, and so they just kind of like walk through these walls that we think are real. They don't exist to them. Right. And so they might be hanging out here because they just like something, or they might be drawn to the land, or they might have lived here 100 years ago, and they come back. But I think it's mostly you're given spirits around you to help you. They're helpers. And depending on what you're going through, they kind of come. And depending on where you are is what you get. So if I'm in China, I'll probably get somebody of that descent. If I'm in a Buddhist, sanctuary, I'm probably going to get somebody, who's Buddhist and, are in there doing some work. So, I mean, I think it's all relative to that.
Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever been to another country where, there's going to be a lot of spirits, and obviously they're not going to be speaking English, so are they trying to communicate with you, and they're speaking, say, Chinese or Spanish? How does that work with you? How can you communicate, or can you?
Well, yeah, so my husband is from Morocco, and so, when I was in Morocco, it's just an example, they speak Arabic. I mean, some of them speak French, most of them speak English, but, you know, those are those two languages that are there present, too. And so as I'm walking around, I'm drawn to this house. And, you know, it looks like it's abandoned, you know, so I could say psychologically it looks haunted. But I was drawn to it, like go into it, and I was afraid to go into it because I didn't, you know, I don't know the area like that. But I went into it without going into it, and I saw a lady. She was French. She looks Caucasian. She didn't really look but she was a French lady. So then I started, like, hearing about the story of the house in my head that she, you know, her husband or somebody had died, and then she died, like, through a trauma, like a car, I think, accident. And so she was kind of still in that home, and I was telling my husband about it. I said, I went walking, and I found the haunted house, and he's like, oh, my God. And then I said, you know, the house over there, and so I told him, and I said, well, what's the story of it? And he told me the exact thing that I had heard, and, you know, in my psychic way. And so I was like, yeah, that's what she told me, you know. And so I was all excited, and he was like, oh, my God, no, not again. I can't take you out of the country. But what the point of that was, she didn't speak English. She spoke French. But because I could hear her, it was translated into the language of my tongue. And I have had people talk and say words, too. I remember one time in Filipino language, Tagalog, I believe is what it's called, I was told some words from a lady's father that were real words that I had never heard before. So they can do either or, I believe, from my perspective, yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious if you ever came across some spirits that couldn't speak English, and they were getting frustrated because they were trying to talk to you and you couldn't understand them. Has that ever happened?
No, I know there's times when I'll say repeat certain words that I don't understand, but it's primarily in the native of your tongue is my understanding, for me.
Right, and plus, I guess they would show you, like, visions, too, like a TV movie, like you were saying, too, maybe, right? Something like that, too, would help.
Yeah, and it's an impression. It's an impression in the way that they need to communicate with you. So if they're telling you something and you're not getting it, I say they flip the script. I mean, they'll give you something like visual. If you're not understanding the visual, they'll give you something auditory, or they'll give you an example of something you've seen before. Like, sometimes when I'm seeing a guy, and say if he looks like Robert Frost, that's a good example. I'll say, oh, my God, that's so Robert Frost. And I'll say, hey, does he look like Robert Frost, or did he commit suicide? You know, because that's the thing. So they'll look like a certain person. They'll show you someone that you're familiar with, and you'll be like, oh, okay, that looked like Joan Crawford, or, oh, she must have looked like this, or, oh, you know, is she tan that looked like this? They'll give you an example of someone that you know to kind of, like, have an idea of who it could be.
Wow. That's good. I was just curious about that because I'm sure you've been around the country a few times doing a lot of readings and whatnot in your travels. What's your favorite place to go?
I would say probably California.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say Cal, you're talking about the mining towns, or what specifically you like about it?
I haven't really done anything like investigative wise, but you know, that's as far as away from Pensacola. You know, it's like so I felt very drawn to that area. So you know, it almost felt like I wanted to go back and go to the Queen Mary and all these things. I haven't done those things as of yet, but I think I would be very drawn to that area.
Mm-hmm. Now, I see online all the time about where psychics are talking to aliens and stuff like that. What's your view on that?
I say whatever works for you works for you. You know, my mom has seen a spaceship before. God bless her. I haven't. Well, I literally kind of thought I saw one time, but I'm still pretending like I didn't see it. I don't know that we call it aliens, but what is an alien really? I mean, it's you know, it's something that we don't really understand or we don't know. And I don't know who's talking to me and telling me these things. But, hey, they're good things. They're helping people. There's not anything of the devil or telling somebody to go kill themselves or anything like that. It's all high vibrational. So if I'm talking to an alien and just don't know it, I'm cool with it.
Right.
But I think that I think because I don't know for sure, I'm skeptical, you know. but
Yep.
also believe, who am I talking to? I call it my angelic entourage. You might have some aliens in there, might have some angels, it might just be all dead people. But I welcome the interaction because to me it's very healing for me to help people.